At the beginning of every league, we all ask ourselves the same question: which build to choose for league start? This choice will determine how well and smoothly the start of a new league will go for us and what emotions we will get from the game. That's why in this video I have 5 good builds for league start in the Forbidden Sanctum. I would like to start with Deadeye Icicle mine. I started the last league with it, and honestly I do not regret my choice because this build pleasantly surprised me. It has very good damage and some potential to scale damage really well the more you invest in it. The mapping is really fast and smooth on this build, and you will be able to complete your Atlas very quickly. If you like Expedition as much as I do, you will definitely like this build, because it is perfect for farm this type of content. With this build you can do almost all the content in the game, and all you need to get started is these 3 unique items, which you can easily buy on the first day. On the downside, I would like to note that we use mines, and this style of gameplay is not suitable for all players. Also, we have no ultimatum defense. Of course you will not die to a random white mob, but if you prefer defense to damage, then you should look for another build. If you're interested in this build and want to learn more about it, I recommend watching my videos about it from the last league. Since the changes in the Forbidden Sanctum did not affect it, these videos are still relevant. You can find the links in the description to this video. Bane Occultist with Essence Drain and Soul Rend, another solid starter build. It was very good in Lake of Calandra, and in 3.20 it's still good. Also in the Forbidden Sanctum the developer made some changes for curses, which are a small buff for us. Thanks to our ascendancy we have very good and fast map clearing. This is a very simple build that is perfectly suited for beginners. It has a very simple playstyle, and you do not need to make a complicated craft for your gear. Also, Bane Occultist SSF viable, so if you're a fan of this mode, this might be exactly what you were looking for. Single target damage is mediocre, and damage potential for Pinnacle Uber bosses is very bad. So if you plan to kill Uber bosses, then you should look for another build. If for some reason you don't like this build, you can always respec to a more reliable build such as Poison Concoction, Cold Occultist, or Blade Vortex. So you'll always have a backup plan. Explosive Arrow Elementalist is the 3rd build in my video that I can recommend for league starts. Personally, I have not played this version of the build, but I have played Explosive Arrow Champion on Hardcore Trade League. Despite the fact that I completely ignored the damage and concentrated on defense, I had no problems at all with the bosses, and the damage was good enough. Elementalist of course will not have the same defense as the champion, but his damage will be much higher. And considering the fact that most of you play on the softcore league, it is not a big problem if you will sometimes die. First of all, this build will interest those of you who want a good boss killer, because with minimal investment in it you can easily complete almost all of the endgame content. Just like the last build from this video, this one has very simple and quite comfortable gameplay, especially against bosses. You just place your totems, and while they do damage you can easily dodge the boss abilities. But if you've never played a totem build, it's probably not the best option for you, because in my experience players either love this playstyle or hate it. You may be just the type of player who does not like totem builds, and it will completely ruin your league start. This is one of the builds I am considering as my league starter because I think it has very good potential in 3.20. If you want to know more about Explosive Arrow Elementalist, then I recommend Motohidi YouTube channel, who has a very good video on this build. You can find the link to it in the description. Next up is Poison Concoction Trickster. Many of you may be surprised that I suggest Trickster and not Pathfinder, but honestly you all already know that Poison Concoction Pathfinder is a good build. I'm offering you an alternative, and a very good one. In the last league, I decided to make this build as an experiment, and to be honest, I didn't expect it to be any good. But in practice, Poison Concoction Trickster was just as good as Pathfinder. The core of the build is a unique item, Snakebite. Due to the fact that we play as Trickster, we can have 9 to 10 frenzy charges, and so these gloves give us a lot of damage. Overall, I got a pretty strong and interesting build, which can handle almost any content in the game. Plus it's really fun and easy to play. The only thing I want to warn you is that this build is not for SSF. Some unique items are mandatory for us, Plus we need clusters, and you will have a big problem with that on SSF. If you are interested in this build and want to know more about it, make sure to watch my video about it. The link will be in the description as always. Last but not least is Spark Inquisitor. This was my League starter build for 3.18. At first I was very skeptical about it, but the more I played it, the more I liked it because it's really a good build, and if you choose it, you will have a very easy and smooth League start. Since that time, nothing has changed for this build. He will be actual in 3.20. I would like to say a few words about this build. We have a very good DPS, which is enough for any content including Uber bosses. We have a pretty good defense that will allow us not to die. It is good not only for softcore but also for SSF and hardcore. Putting together gear for it is very interesting, and if you like min-max builds, then you will have plenty of options to improve this build. Perhaps this is all brief information about the build, and if you are interested in it, be sure to check out Garatha's YouTube channel. He has a very detailed guide in which you will find a lot of useful information. This was the last build, and it's time to say goodbye to you. I hope that my video was useful for you and you were able to find a build for yourself. Bye everyone, and see you in the new videos.